The simple ring he bought turned out to be an alien marriage bond. HFY read it. Evan Holt walked through the crowded market levels of the trade station, feeling out of place among the flowing colors and strange sounds. Humans were rare here, and the aliens around him moved with confidence he did not share. The market was a maze of narrow alleys, buzzing lights, and vendors calling in languages he barely recognized. Evan had no plan for visiting this part of the station, only a curiosity that drew him to the smallest, dustiest stalls. He liked the hidden corners where items seemed forgotten, things that were old and strange and sometimes worth more than they seemed. In one such corner, a small stall caught his eye. It was run by an elderly alien, thin with skin that shimmered like copper under the market lights. The alien had jars filled with curious objects, stones that glowed faintly, pendants that seemed to vibrate, and tools that looked far too complicated for a human to understand. Among them, a plain silver ring sat on a faded velvet pillow. It was unassuming, simple, and quiet. No jewels, no markings, just smooth metal that reflected the overhead lights. Evan reached for the ring. The moment his fingers brushed it, the alien spoke. His voice was low and almost musical. "Careful, human. This one is not as simple as it looks. Once you wear it, it cannot be taken off without permission from its master." Evan chuckled. He did not believe in magic or curses or alien warnings. He had seen too much technology, and he trusted his own hands more than words. "Just a ring," he said, and handed over some credits. The alien nodded slowly, as if expecting him to ignore the warning. Back in his small apartment, Evan placed the ring on his finger. It fit perfectly. He studied it, turning it this way and that, noticing how it caught the light. Nothing happened. He relaxed, leaning back in his chair, thinking he had made another small, unremarkable purchase. Hours later, while reading messages from distant stations on his datapad, the ring began to hum softly. A faint blue glow ran along its surface. Evan looked at it, startled. He tried to remove it, but it was stuck. The more he pulled, the more it seemed to tighten, almost as if it was alive. Panic rose in his chest. His mind raced. Was this some advanced alien technology, a scam, something worse? Before he could decide what to do, his apartment door slid open and several alien security drones appeared. Their eyes glowed red, scanning him. Evan froze. He had no weapons, no plans, no idea what he was supposed to do. One of the drones spoke in a loud, synthetic voice that was strangely formal. "You are recognized as bonded partner. Remain in place." Evan had never heard the word before, but it sounded serious. He raised his hands, hoping to appear compliant. He tried to explain, "I don't know what you mean. It's just a ring, I bought it." The drones ignored him. Alien voices outside his apartment began to murmur, warning others, calling for attention. People stared through the windows. Evan could hear footsteps, alien shapes moving in the corridor. It felt as if the entire station had shifted its focus onto him. Fear settled deep in his stomach. Then she arrived. Lyra, a tall alien woman with silver skin and eyes like molten gold, stepped into the room. Her presence alone seemed to command the attention of the drones. She wore armor that gleamed under the station lights, and her movements were calm and deliberate. "Human Evan Holt," she said, her voice soft but powerful. "You have been bound. You cannot remove it. You must come with me." He gaped at her. Bound? For what reason? Why him? He tried to step back, but the drones formed a wall. Lyra approached, her eyes scanning the ring. She touched it lightly and the glow stopped. She studied Evan carefully, as if trying to understand him. "This ring," she said, "was never meant for a human. It is a bond, a legal and permanent alliance between you and another. You were chosen, or perhaps the ring chose you." Evan could barely process what she said. He felt trapped, small, and completely out of control. As Lyra guided him through the busy corridors of the station, people parted around them. Aliens whispered, some bowing, others staring with fear and respect. Evan wanted to ask questions, but every word caught in his throat. He did not know what had happened. He did not understand why a simple ring had brought all this attention. He tried to think logically, to find a way out, but every option seemed impossible. They reached an observation deck overlooking the central docking bay. Lyra pointed to ships landing and departing. "You are part of an ancient covenant," she explained. "The bond is recognized across the systems. Anyone who challenges it risks war. You cannot return the ring and you cannot leave until your bonded partner is found." Evan's stomach dropped. The words were heavy with meaning. He was just a human, a technician, someone who fixed machines and kept his life quiet. Now somehow he was central to something much larger, a web of laws and powers he could not begin to understand. As they spoke, the ring pulsed again. Symbols appeared around it, floating in midair. They were unfamiliar, alien in every way. Evan tried to read them to make sense, but they shifted constantly. Lyra leaned closer, studying them. "These symbols are a map, a guide. It points to where your bonded partner is. You must follow it and you must go willingly. Resistance is dangerous not just for you but for entire species." He swallowed hard. Willingly? How could he go willingly when he did not even know what was happening? Suddenly, alarms echoed through the station. Lights flashed red. Evan turned to Lyra. "What now?" he asked, panic rising again. Lyra did not answer immediately. Instead, she scanned the room. "They have noticed the bond. They are not all friendly. Some seek to take it for themselves." Evan's heart pounded. Take it? What could be so valuable about a ring, and why was it attached to him? Before he could think further, the observation deck doors opened and several armored aliens entered. Their presence was hostile, aggressive. They spoke in a language Evan could not understand, their gestures sharp and commanding. Lyra stepped in front of him, raising a hand. Energy flared from her gauntlet, forming a shield. The intruders hesitated, then backed away slightly. Evan could feel the tension, the unspoken threat. This was not a negotiation. This was something far beyond him. Evan looked down at the ring, feeling its weight, its pull. He had never wanted anything more normal than his life, and now everything had changed. He was no longer just Evan Holt, a technician. He was bonded, chosen, and caught in forces he could not understand. And somewhere far away, his bonded partner was waiting. The thought made his mind spin. Who were they? What did they look like? Were they human, alien, or something he could not even imagine? He did not know. All he knew was that the ring would not let him go. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "We leave now," she said. Evan followed, his steps heavy, his mind racing. Every moment the ring pulsed, a quiet reminder that his life had changed forever. As they left the station, he looked back at the bustling market, the familiar corners and stalls. Nothing seemed the same. The ring had chosen him, and now there was no turning back. Outside, the docking bays were alive with activity. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved with precision, but Evan barely noticed. His attention was on the ring, on Lyra, on the strange new world he was entering. He felt fear, awe, confusion, and a hint of excitement. He did not know what was coming, but he knew it would be far beyond anything he had ever imagined. The first step into the unknown had been taken. The station shrank behind him as the ship lifted off, and the stars stretched out in front. Evan gripped the armrest, the ring tight on his finger, pulsing softly. Somewhere, someone was waiting for him, and the universe itself seemed to be watching. He was no longer just a human. He was bonded, marked, and part of something far larger than he could comprehend. And as the stars sped by, he realized that nothing would ever be simple again. Evan Holt sat in the passenger compartment of the sleek alien ship, staring at the stars that streaked past the viewports. He felt like a spectator in someone else's life. Lyra, the alien officer, remained quiet beside him, her expression calm but alert. The hum of the ship's engines was soothing, yet the pulsing of the ring on his finger reminded him constantly that he was no longer ordinary. The glowing symbols shifted and changed whenever he thought about them, almost as if they were alive, waiting for him to understand something beyond human comprehension. After hours of silence, Lyra finally spoke. "You do not yet understand what you carry, human. That ring is not a piece of jewelry. It is a covenant, an ancient agreement recognized across star systems. Once worn, it marks you as bonded to another. Breaking it is not simple, and the consequences are severe." Evan shook his head. "I don't even know what bonded means. How could a ring choose me? I'm not important. I'm just a human." Lyra gave him a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Humans are unique in ways most species cannot comprehend. The Covenant was designed to recognize traits that only humans possess: adaptability, resilience, instinct. The ring senses those qualities and chooses accordingly." Evan's mind reeled. He had always thought humans were insignificant in the grand scale of the galaxy. Now, a small metal band had proven him wrong in a way that could endanger entire civilizations. The thought made him shiver. He wanted to ask more, but Lyra's posture warned him that questions might not always be answered immediately. Hours later, the ship exited normal space and entered a hidden system shielded by ancient gravitational fields. Evan could not see much outside, only the shimmer of the field that surrounded the system. Lyra's fingers moved over the control panel with ease. "We are close," she said. "The bond is leading us here." Evan leaned forward, staring at the floating star map projected above the ring. The symbols rearranged themselves as the ship approached the system's outer edges, revealing hidden paths through the fields. He realized that the ring was not only a marker, but also a key, guiding him through obstacles no alien technology could otherwise navigate. The ship entered orbit around a massive planet, its surface covered in forests and cities that glowed faintly in the darkness. Strange structures rose like towers, some smooth and metallic, others organic and twisting. Evan felt a mix of awe and fear. He had never seen anything like this. "Is this where my bonded partner is?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but be warned. Not everyone in this system is friendly. Many seek the bond for themselves. We cannot show weakness. You must understand the role you play, human." Evan's heart pounded. Role? He barely knew what was happening. The thought of someone waiting for him, someone he had never met, made his stomach churn with nervousness. As they descended, automated defense drones activated around the planet. The ship's shields glowed as energy beams passed harmlessly over the hull. Lyra's eyes were focused, her movements precise. Evan watched as she guided the ship through the defenses, the ring pulsing in sync with each maneuver. He realized then that the bond might be more than symbolic. It could be a guide to survival, a way to unlock hidden potentials he never knew existed. When they finally landed, Evan stepped onto a platform surrounded by alien architecture that seemed alive. The air was filled with a faint hum, and the ground pulsed beneath his feet. He felt disoriented, but the ring glowed brighter, anchoring him somehow. Lyra gestured for him to follow, leading him through corridors lined with intricate carvings and glowing symbols. Every step made him feel more alien and more human at the same time. He was part of something ancient, yet his presence was new and unexpected. They entered a large chamber where a group of aliens waited. Their expressions were neutral, but Evan sensed caution and curiosity. One of them stepped forward, a tall figure with luminous eyes and a flowing robe. "Evan Holt," the figure said in a melodic tone, "you carry the bond. We have awaited this day for centuries. Your presence marks the continuation of our covenant." Evan felt overwhelmed. He could barely speak. I don't understand. I didn't choose this. I just bought a ring." The figure tilted its head, regarding him carefully. "The bond chooses. You were selected because of what humans represent: courage, unpredictability, loyalty. You embody qualities our species has lost over time. That is why the ring recognized you. That is why you are here." Evan swallowed hard. The idea that humans had some rare trait made him feel proud, yet terrified. He had never seen himself as remarkable. Now an entire civilization depended on him, or at least viewed him as central to something enormous. Lyra stepped beside him, her expression unreadable. "You must meet your bonded partner," she said softly. "But first, you must understand that this partnership is recognized, enforced, and protected by ancient law. No one may interfere without risk of war." Evan nodded, though he barely understood the rules. He felt trapped, caught between the awe of discovery and the weight of responsibility. The group led him deeper into the complex. They passed through halls filled with strange technology, walls that shimmered with energy, and doors that seemed to open only for them. Each step heightened Evan's sense of unease. He wondered who his bonded partner could be, what they looked like, and how they would react to him. The idea that someone far away was searching for him made him anxious. Could a human truly survive in this alien society? Could he even communicate with them? Finally, they reached a chamber with a large platform at its center. Symbols on the floor pulsed in rhythm with the ring. Evan stepped forward, his heart racing. "Your partner is near," one of the elders said. The room remained empty for a moment. Then a figure appeared on the other side of the platform. Evan froze. The figure was tall, graceful, with features that were alien yet vaguely familiar. Their eyes locked on his, and for the first time Evan felt a strange connection, a pull he could not explain. The figure spoke in a soft voice. "Evan Holt," they said, "I have awaited you. The bond has chosen well." Evan opened his mouth to respond, but words failed him. The ring pulsed, casting light across the room, highlighting the connection that now existed between them. He realized then that the bond was more than a legal marker. It was a living link, a guide, a challenge, and perhaps a test of what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had forgotten the value of choice and instinct. Suddenly, alarms rang throughout the complex. Red lights flashed, and the floor vibrated under their feet. Intruders had breached the outer defenses. Lyra moved quickly, gesturing for Evan and the figure to take cover. Energy shields appeared, separating them from the attackers. Evan felt a surge of fear, but also an odd clarity. The ring pulsed in response to his heightened awareness, almost as if it was telling him that this was his moment to act. The attackers tried to force their way in, but the defenses, guided by the bond, held strong. Evan realized then that his human instincts, quick thinking, adaptability, and calm under pressure, were the key. He followed subtle cues from the ring and Lyra, helping to coordinate defensive maneuvers. No human had been in such a situation before, yet somehow he felt capable. The attackers were repelled, but Evan understood that danger would come again. The bond was not just symbolic, it demanded responsibility, courage, and choice. When the immediate threat passed, the figure stepped closer. "You are remarkable," they said. "Not because of strength or skill, but because you are human. The bond could not have chosen better." Evan felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. He had no idea what the future held, but he understood that he had crossed a threshold. He was no longer an ordinary human. He had entered a role that few could comprehend, a bond that would shape his life, his decisions, and the way entire civilizations viewed humanity. The night outside was quiet, and the stars shone faintly through the energy shields of the complex. Evan looked at the ring, now glowing steadily, not erratically. He felt a strange sense of calm. For the first time, he believed that perhaps he could face what was coming. The bond had chosen him, and now he had to live up to it. He was human, but in ways that mattered more than he had ever realized. And somewhere beyond the complex, the galaxy waited for him to act, to understand, and to define what it meant to be human in the vast, unpredictable cosmos. Evan Holt moved carefully through the alien complex, each step echoing softly in the vast corridors. The bonded partner, whose name he had learned was Kaelra, walked beside him with poise and grace. Evan felt both awe and unease. Every move he made seemed observed, not just by Kaora, but by the ring itself, pulsing gently with light. The air hummed with energy, and the walls seemed alive, as if the building itself was aware of the importance of this human and his presence. Kaora spoke softly, yet every word carried authority. The bond is ancient. It recognizes traits that many have lost: loyalty, courage, instinct. Humans have something the galaxy has forgotten. Evan looked at her, confused and slightly embarrassed. Me, I'm just normal. I fix machines, I read books. How could that matter to an ancient alien law? Kaora smiled faintly. That is precisely why it matters. The bond does not seek power or status. It seeks essence. You are the first human it has marked, and that is why you are important. As they moved deeper into the complex, Evan noticed defensive drones patrolling silently. Their presence was intimidating, but the ring glowed brighter when he focused. It was as if the ring itself was communicating, guiding him without words. Kaora noticed his gaze. Do not worry, the ring is a guide as much as a bond. It will help you navigate dangers that no one else can perceive. Trust it, trust yourself. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Alarms echoed through the corridors. Evan's pulse quickened. Kaora placed a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. They know you are here, she said. Enemies seek the bond. We must move quickly. Evan nodded, though fear clawed at him. He had never been in danger like this before. He had never felt so exposed. Yet the ring's glow steadied him, and he realized he had instinctively begun to notice patterns. The movement of guards, the direction of patrols, the safest path forward. They reached a central chamber where ancient technology pulsed with light. Kaora gestured to a console. This is where the bond links us to the greater network. It allows communication, navigation, and protection. Humans have never accessed it before, but it responds to you, Evan. Try touching it. Hesitant, Evan reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the surface, energy surged through him, and the symbols from the ring expanded into the air. A map appeared, showing hidden paths, unknown systems, and encrypted signals. Evan's mind reeled. He realized the bond was more than a legal or symbolic link. It was an interface, a tool that amplified human instincts and understanding. Before he could study it further, the complex shook again. Security alarms flared. Kaora's expression hardened. They have breached the outer defenses. They are coming for you. The bond is valuable not only to us but to those who seek control. You must remain calm, follow instinct, and trust the ring. Evan's heart raced. He had never been in combat, never fought for survival in such a dangerous environment. Yet, instinctively, he began to move with awareness he had never known, noticing hidden passages and energy lines that no one else could see. The intruders arrived, a group of heavily armored aliens with advanced weaponry. They moved with precision, clearly trained to target him. Lyra appeared beside him, activating shields and energy barriers. Evan watched, panic rising, but then the ring pulsed in his hand and something shifted. He felt clarity, a sharp focus. He began giving suggestions, noticing gaps in the attacker's approach, predicting their moves based on subtle cues. The aliens froze in surprise. Human intuition, guided by the bond, was something they had never encountered. Kaora watched him with amazement. "You are remarkable," she whispered. "Not because of strength, but because of choice. The bond amplifies what you already have. Humans think slowly, act carefully, yet in moments of instinct you surpass expectations." Evan felt a mix of pride and disbelief. He was just a human, yet here he was, influencing the outcome of a potentially catastrophic conflict. After the immediate danger passed, they regrouped. Evan felt exhausted but exhilarated. He realized that being bonded was not a limitation. It was a responsibility, and with it came power he had never imagined. The ring pulsed steadily, as if acknowledging his growth, his understanding. Kaora smiled at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of respect and curiosity. "Now you see why you were chosen," she said. "The bond does not seek to control, it seeks to unite, to reveal potential. You have passed the first trial. There will be more, but this is the beginning." Evan nodded, still processing everything. The enemies were not defeated, merely repelled. The bond had shown him that his human instincts could affect events on a scale far larger than he had ever imagined. He felt a strange sense of confidence, a belief that perhaps he could rise to the challenges ahead. Yet, uncertainty lingered. Who exactly was Kaelra beyond the bond? How deep did this network of laws and protections run? And how many forces in the galaxy would stop at nothing to seize the bond for themselves? They moved deeper into the system, guided by the map projected by the ring. Evan noticed hidden pathways, systems that were invisible to standard scans, and energy sources that seemed to respond to his presence. Each discovery made him realize that humans, often underestimated, could play a crucial role in the galaxy. The bond had chosen him not because he was extraordinary in the conventional sense, but because he could think, adapt, and act in ways the alien species could not. Along the journey, Evan and Kaelra encountered other alien civilizations who recognized the bond. Some showed respect, others caution, and a few displayed outright hostility. In every case, Evan observed and adapted, guided by the subtle cues from the ring. He began to feel a growing sense of purpose. He was no longer just a human technician. He was a bridge between species, a symbol of something larger than himself. Kaelra explained more about the history of the bond. It was created to maintain balance across the galaxy, to form alliances that transcended culture, species, and politics. It recognizes those who embody qualities essential for survival and harmony. Humans, until now, were not part of this network. "You have changed that." Evan listened, absorbing the weight of the statement. The responsibility was immense. He realized that simple actions, human choices, could ripple across the galaxy, shaping events in ways he could barely imagine. As they approached a hidden sanctuary deep within the system, the ring pulsed more intensely. Evan realized that the sanctuary was not only a destination but a test. Ancient guardians, automated systems, and trials awaited those who were bonded. Each challenge would assess courage, loyalty, and decision-making under pressure. Evan felt a mix of fear and determination. He understood that his journey was far from over. The sanctuary doors opened, revealing a vast chamber filled with glowing symbols and strange machines. Evan felt the bond pulling him forward, guiding him to specific points within the room. Kaelra followed, explaining that each step would reveal more about the bond, its purpose, and the role he would play. Evan moved carefully, trusting instinct and the ring's subtle guidance. He felt connected, not only to Kaelra but to something far larger, something ancient and enduring. Suddenly, a projection appeared, showing a history of the Covenant, battles fought, alliances formed, and civilizations preserved. Evan watched in awe. He realized that the ring had not only bonded him but had chosen him to be a guardian, a mediator, and a living symbol of unity. The weight of responsibility pressed on him, but with it came a sense of purpose he had never known. As the first day in the sanctuary ended, Evan and Kaelra stood together, looking at the glowing expanse before them. "You have learned quickly," Kaelra said. "The bond recognizes choice, and humans excel at choice. That is why you are central to this network. That is why you are here." Evan nodded, feeling both humility and resolve. He knew that the galaxy would test him, that danger was far from over, but he also understood that he could rise to meet it. The bond had chosen him, and now he had begun to understand why. Evan Holt felt a new sense of purpose as he and Kaelra moved through the sanctuary. Every step seemed to reinforce the bond, not as a constraint but as a guide, a link connecting human instincts with alien wisdom. The glowing symbols of the ring pulsed steadily, highlighting the path they should take. Evan realized that the bond was teaching him, not forcing him, showing him how to navigate both the physical dangers and the responsibilities of his position. Kaelra walked beside him, observing carefully. The bond is not just a connection, it is a test. It seeks to reveal choices, not obedience. You have passed the first trials, but there are others ahead. How you act under pressure will define the alliance we are forming. Evan nodded, understanding that he could not rely on chance alone. Every action mattered, and the stakes were higher than anything he had ever imagined. Humans were small in the galaxy, but through choice, courage, and instinct, they could tip the balance. The sanctuary shifted as they moved deeper. Ancient machines hummed to life, corridors rearranged themselves, and the air vibrated with energy. Evan felt dizzy at first, but the ring guided him, pulsing in patterns that reassured him. He began to see connections he had never noticed before, pathways, energy flows, and even the intentions of others. It was as if the ring amplified not only his awareness but his decision-making, showing him the consequences of potential actions before they happened. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Alarms rang through the sanctuary, red lights flashing across the walls. Evan's pulse quickened. Kaelra grabbed his arm, steadying him. "They have discovered us," she said. "Forces that oppose the bond are approaching. They seek to take you to claim the bond by force." Fear gripped Evan, but the ring's steady glow brought clarity. He realized that panic would make him vulnerable. Calm and observation were his allies. Guided by instinct, he moved to coordinate with Kaelra, positioning themselves in a strategic location where the sanctuary's defenses could be most effective. The attackers arrived, a group of alien warriors heavily armed and trained to hunt bonded individuals. They moved with precision, their intention clear: to capture Evan. Kaelra activated defensive barriers, energy shields that shimmered around them. Evan, for the first time, felt the bond's full potential. It was not controlling him. It was showing him the paths that would give the greatest advantage. He directed the defensive systems, predicting the intruders' movements and guiding Kaelra to the safest positions. Time seemed to slow as Evan noticed patterns in the attackers' tactics. Their approach was methodical, but humans, he realized, think differently. Using the ring's subtle cues, he directed countermeasures that the aliens could not anticipate. The intruders faltered, their formations breaking under strategies no alien would have expected from a human. Evan felt a surge of confidence. He was not just a pawn, he was a participant, shaping the outcome through choice, instinct, and collaboration with the bond. After the skirmish ended, Evan and Kaelra assessed the damage. The sanctuary had held, but it was clear that their enemies would return. Evan's mind raced with questions. How many forces were after the bond? How many civilizations depended on it? And most pressing of all, what did this mean for him personally? Kaelra observed his unease. The bond is not meant to restrict you. It is meant to reveal potential. Humans act through choice, and that is why you are central. We will face more challenges, but you will rise to them, as humans always do. Evan nodded, slowly accepting the weight of the responsibility. The next days were filled with training, observation, and strategic planning. Evan learned to read the bond's subtle signals, to anticipate danger, and to make decisions under pressure. Kaelra and Lyra guided him, but the ring's guidance was always present, amplifying his instincts and judgment. Evan realized that his human qualities, adaptability, empathy, and problem-solving, were exactly what made him effective. He began to see himself not as a fragile human, but as a crucial element in the balance of an entire network of civilizations. One evening, Evan stood at a high vantage point overlooking the sanctuary. The lights of the city below shimmered like stars on the ground. Kaelra joined him quietly. "You have grown," she said. "The bond recognizes that, but there is a choice you must soon make. You will be given an opportunity to return to your world, safe and untouched, or you may stay, fully accepting the responsibilities of the bond. The decision is yours." Evan felt the weight of her words. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, yet here he was, faced with a choice that would impact not only his life but potentially the galaxy. He looked down at the ring, its light steady and warm. He realized that staying was not a matter of obligation, it was a matter of choice. And in humans, choice was powerful. Before he could respond, alarms rang again. Red lights bathed the sanctuary in urgency. Scouts had breached the outer perimeter and an enemy fleet was approaching. Kaelra moved quickly, preparing defensive protocols. Evan felt a surge of determination. He would not flee. He had learned too much, grown too much, and understood too well. The bond had not merely marked him. It had shaped him into someone capable of defending it and those connected to it. As the first wave of attackers approached, Evan coordinated the sanctuary's defenses with a calm efficiency he had never known in his human life. The bond responded to his decisions, enhancing the sanctuary's systems in ways no human technology could. Kaelra watched in awe as he orchestrated defensive maneuvers that repelled the attackers, not through raw force, but through understanding, strategy, and timing. Evan realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans. The strength of humanity lay not in brute power, but in choice, intelligence, and instinct. After the battle, the sanctuary was secure once more. Evan felt exhausted, yet exhilarated. He had proven that the bond did not control him, but that humans, through understanding and choice, could redefine its power. Kaelra approached, her expression softening. "You see now," she said, "the bond does not force, it reveals. It is not only a connection but a mirror. You have shown that humans can change the course of events simply by choosing to act rightly." Evan nodded, a sense of pride and humility mixing within him. The bond had chosen him, but he had embraced it through his own actions. That night Evan stood alone, looking at the stars beyond the sanctuary. He thought of Earth, his quiet life before the ring, and the ordinary human he once believed himself to be. The universe had expanded in ways he could never have imagined. Humans were small, yet through choice, they were significant. The bond had shown him that, and he was determined to honor it. He was ready to face whatever came next, not as a pawn, but as a participant, fully human and fully bonded. Evan Holt felt the weight of the galaxy pressing on him as he and Kaelra prepared for the final phase of their journey. The bond on his finger pulsed steadily, not as a constraint, but as a reminder of the responsibilities he had accepted. He had grown from a simple human technician into someone capable of influencing events on a scale he had never imagined. The ring had chosen him, but it was his choices that defined him now. The sanctuary was quiet, yet tense. Every corridor, every chamber seemed alive with anticipation. Evan had learned to read the subtle cues of the ring, to anticipate danger and to act decisively. Kaelra moved beside him, a calm presence in the midst of uncertainty. "The final challenge approaches," she said. "Those who oppose the bond will try one last time to seize it. This is where humans prove their worth not by strength, but by choice." Evan nodded. He felt fear, but it was tempered by a growing sense of confidence. He had faced threats before, and now he understood that the bond was not a cage but a tool, amplifying his instincts and decisions. As they moved through the sanctuary, alarms suddenly blared. Red lights bathed the halls. Scouts had breached the outer defenses, and the enemy fleet was closing in. Evan's pulse quickened, but the ring guided him, pulsing with light that highlighted paths and options he could not have seen before. Kaelra activated the sanctuary's defensive systems, energy shields rising, weapon platforms coming online. Evan realized that this time, it was not just about defense. It was about proving that humans could shape outcomes, that choice mattered more than brute force. The attackers arrived, moving with precision and intent. They sought the bond, not Evan as a human, but the power he represented through it. The first wave was met by automated defenses, but Evan noticed patterns and weaknesses that no alien strategy had considered. He directed countermeasures, using the ring to predict movements, manipulate energy flows, and coordinate allies. Kael'ra watched in awe as he guided the sanctuary systems with instinctual clarity. The attackers faltered, unable to anticipate the human decision-making that now led their resistance. Hours passed in a blur of activity. Evan's mind was sharp, his instincts honed. The ring pulsed in rhythm with his thoughts, reinforcing his awareness, guiding him through complex tactical decisions. He realized that humans were often underestimated because their strength lay in unpredictability, in the ability to adapt, and in the capacity for moral choice. The Bond had recognized these traits and through him demonstrated their value to the galaxy. After repelling the attackers, Evan and Kael'ra assessed the sanctuary. Minor damages were repaired, systems restored, but the significance of the victory was clear. The humans' choices had not only defended the Bond, but had reshaped the understanding of what it meant to be bonded. Alien observers, previously skeptical of human potential, began to recognize that the Covenant could evolve, that humans could redefine ancient laws without breaking them. Kael'ra approached Evan. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown that humans bring something unique to the galaxy. The Bond does not command, it reveals. You have proven that through choice, responsibility, and instinct, one can influence the course of civilizations." Evan felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had started this journey as an ordinary human, unsure and overwhelmed. Yet now he realized that human essence mattered, not because it was extraordinary, but because it was genuine, adaptable, and resilient. The ring on his finger began to glow with a warm light, expanding to encompass both Evan and Kael'ra. Symbols floated in the air, shifting and rearranging themselves into new patterns. The Bond was transforming, not restricting, reflecting the choices Evan had made. It was no longer a symbol of obligation but a symbol of alliance, of mutual respect and understanding. Evan felt a profound connection to Kael'ra, not because of the ring, but because he had chosen to act, to protect, and to embrace responsibility. Messages arrived from distant civilizations. Observers, allies, and even former skeptics sent acknowledgments. Humans had entered the galactic stage not as pawns but as participants. Evan realized that the ring had not chosen him merely for its ancient purpose, but because humans could shape outcomes in ways no other species could. His role was not about domination or control. It was about being human in the fullest sense and showing that humanity could influence the galaxy through choice and action. Evan and Kael'ra stood together, overlooking the sanctuary and the stars beyond. The battle had ended, but the implications were just beginning. The Bond, once rigid and ancient, had been reshaped through human understanding. The galaxy would remember this moment as the time when humans proved their worth, not through power, but through adaptability, courage, and choice. Evan felt a quiet pride. He was no longer the ordinary technician who had bought a simple ring. He was a symbol, a proof that humans could change the universe simply by being themselves. As the night deepened, the sanctuary quieted. Evan looked down at the ring, now a gentle glow against his skin. He felt connection, responsibility, and hope. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknowns, dangers, and possibilities. Yet he knew that humans, through understanding, decision, and instinct, could navigate it. The Bond was no longer a chain. It was a bridge, linking him to allies, to Kael'ra, and to the potential of the entire galaxy. Evan realized that the Bond's true power was in choice. Every decision he had made, every instinct he had followed, had reinforced the alliance and reshaped the Covenant itself. He had learned that humans were not powerless, not insignificant. They were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of shaping outcomes far beyond what any other species could imagine. And that realization was the beginning of a new era. He turned to Kaelra, who smiled, understanding without words. Together, they looked at the stars, knowing that the universe had shifted, that the bond had evolved, and that humanity now had a place not just at the edge, but at the center of the galaxy's future. Evan Holt, once an ordinary human, had become a symbol of what it meant to be human, choosing, acting, and shaping the galaxy through courage, understanding, and the simple, profound power of choice.